Welcome to Electric Bike Report. My name's John.
And I'm Griffin.
In this episode, we're going to be taking a look at a bill in New York City that may require e-bikes to be licensed and registered in the near future.
Yeah, there's a hotly contested debate around that one.
We're also going to be taking a look at an RV manufacturer and a light electric vehicle company who are teaming up to make a micro RV drawn by an electric trike.
It's actually a really cool looking concept design.
Agreed. And finally, we'll consider the pros and cons of using a conversion kit to turn a non-electric mountain bike into an EMTB.
Yeah, there are a lot of factors to consider on that one, so we're going to be discussing that and more in this week's The Weekly Recharge.
As always, in the cool finds section here, we take a look at some videos that our team has come across over the past week or so and give you our reactions.
Let's see what they got queued up for us this week. So looks like we got a lot going on Instagram. Okay, so first up, Till C. Graber. What? The third wheel do we got going on here?
Kind of a cargo trike situation, like a sidecar deal.
Is that an attachment or is that just like an accessory? I don't know what that is, but it's cool. It's a little basket holder over there.
We do have more views. Yeah, it's kind of like a little sidecar.
Yeah, as long as that kind of like flexes and tilts like into turns and stuff like that. Oh, heck yeah. It's gonna be a really nice car replacement right there.
That seems very practical. I like it.
Yeah, I'm digging it. Cool.
All right.
Next up, we've got Happy China Life on Instagram. What the aerodynamics are we getting into? Okay, let's see.
Gotta love the GIF reactions to this too. Oh, wow, okay. Superman.
Okay. We are going full aerodynamic. No wind resistance.
I mean, pedaling doesn't look super practical, but like, I don't know, I'd try it.
I mean, just imagine that thing pointed downhill though.
Yeah, you're zooming.
You're gonna be that one GIF that gets shared in like every e-bike circle or every like cycling circle of the guy who goes full Superman on the bike and rips past everybody.
100%, yes.
All right, so next up, 12 feet. Kai Cycle, let's see, Mr. Machine 07 on Instagram.
I see we have a trend here of, three-wheeled bikes going on.
I was gonna say, not bikes today. Lots of seats.
Okay.
You need a tensioner on that chain though, that is massive. Okay.
I mean, bring the whole family along.
I was gonna say, that's like the seat of honor, I guess. You just get to like hang out while everyone else pedals.
Yeah.
Okay. Right on.
It's for grandma.
That's for grandma. Bring the whole family to the farm. All right, this one is Tomo Bikes over on Instagram. What do we have here? Last week's rack need as part of a video shoot to carry some gear to knock up fairly quickly to carry a couple Canadian top bags. I think it's a keeper, so we'll test out on a different paint treatment of it soon. Okay, well, what do we got?
Looks like a homemade cargo rack.
Yeah, kind of like a little different style and design, but it looks pretty cool. I always like a DIY.
Yeah, if you know how to do it, make it happen. Looks good.
Videos too.
Oh, cool.
Oh, is it gonna be like actually you testing it out, or we get to see the
actual welding
making of?
Yeah.
You've done welding, haven't you?
Yeah, a couple times. It's hard.
It looks like it's hard, but I mean, if you know what you're doing, look, you like cool little custom things like this.
Yeah, I like that angle you put on it.
Awesome.
That looks really good.
It.
Also, that's a super sweet bike.
I was like, whatever that is, that's got massive tires. I can't really tell. I don't know. It's looking back though. Good on you. Way to go, Tomo. All right, next up. This is from Mahal, my dude.
Mahalo, my dude.
Mahalo, my dude.
That's right.
I have not been to Hawaii. Me about to ride a double
I haven't
black
either,
my first week of mountain biking.
I do speak the lingo. Yeah, I feel that in my soul.
I think that's everyone's first experience, regardless of the trail. Your first time mountain biking, you're just like, "Woo, I got this," and then you quickly find out somehow you don't.
You don't have that exactly.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Okay, next up, Pure Florida.
Pure Florida
can be a scary concept depending what Florida we're talking about. If you went biking Florida,
this
you
looks
run
like the
into some
nice
locals.
side.
Oh, gators.
Oh,
Gator
wow.
crossing.
Okay, you nailed it in the first one.
No. Let the scaly dinosaur go. Okay.
Don't want that.
I love it. She just like dodges one casually as all get out. Then like, okay, we'll stop for the second one.
Well, this one seems like he wants something.
My goodness, I don't know how Floridians do it. Just like, okay, it's just a gator. Like for me, I'd be like, oh my gosh, it's a gator.
You nailed it, dinosaur.
Yes.
Ooh.
Okay, so next up, Bike Europe and
Art Bicyclette.
Yeah, look at these names up
Something.
in bands.
I don't know.
Okay, so we got La Four-Springer, Remy Augu des Jours.
You can handle the French side.
Yeah, that's
I don't
me
speak
showing
that.
off. I speak a little bit, but whatever this is, it's a sweet looking moped style Look at those. Check those springs out.
Oh, dang. Okay.
I'm always a sucker for white wall tires. It's hard to keep them clean, but man, it looks good when it's fresh.
That is a really nice looking bike.
That
I
is.
definitely dig the moped style, and we don't see anything, that looks
Also
like
like
that.
the springs, you got the shocks in the rear there. Oh, it just looks real clean. What
does.
What is that fork situation though?
Very interesting.
That's unique. You don't see that every day.
No, not at all. Like kind of a hinged situation.
I'm gonna look more into that. That is a freaking sweet ride though.
That is. I really like the quilted saddle.
Yeah, so next up, Mecha.bytes. What do we got here?
Cycling faster without pedaling harder. That
Got
sounds
like
like
an
a cheat code, right?
aerodynamic backpack.
But it's like,
Backpack.
Yeah.
Weighing just 300 grams
just like gives you like a fin, like some sort of spoiler or
That's
something like
sick.
that.
I
Cut
love
through the
that.
resistance.
Yeah.
by paragliding. The RAF backpack's air-filled structure reduces.
I'm so,
Okay.
It lets you ride faster without extra effort.
it looks bulky, but obviously it's just air, so yeah, you just cut through it. But
Yeah.
Air-filled design
also, and as a bonus, you could go jump into a lake and people might think it's a shark fin. So that's fun.
Kind of reminds me of The Incredibles. When don't wear a cape. I don't know.
No capes.
Could be bad.
No capes. It's a good point. Something else to snag. All right. Multi-day rail bike. Oh, back to rail bike. Sweet. From Sulik 46.
Oh, sweet.
Dude, they're in the Arctic.
I want that.
I just want to try all these rail bikes. It's like the third or fourth time we've come across the rail bikes. I just want a piece of this action. This looks sweet.
It really does. I saw one in Arizona where they were going to explore this tunnel in a mine. It was way off the beaten path. I don't know. It just seems like a good hobby.
Exactly. And I appreciate the little cinematic music they got going on here. Okay.
Nice
I like
fall
this.
foliage.
I was gonna say, yeah, I want to go explore there in the fall for sure.
Beautiful.
Well, cool, awesome, lots of cool, some interesting, some weird, a little bit of everything in between.
Yeah.
Nice finds of the week. There's always tons of news going on in the world of e-bikes. Let's take a look at the biggest headlines that we came across over this last week. John, what do we got?
So to start things off, we'll touch back on what we teased about in the intro about the bill in New York City that may require e-bikes to be licensed and registered. So this bill was proposed by the councilman from Queens, whose name is Robert Holden, and he said, all you have to do is walk down any street in New York City, especially in Manhattan, to see the problem. I dare say almost every New Yorker has been hit or had a close call. This bill is not going to solve everything, but it will start to address some of it. So I guess before we get into my take on things, just to kind of look at what's going on with the situation, there's a lot of opposition, a lot of pushback to this. In fact, even from the Department of Transportation, the Commissioner Idanis Rodriguez is kind of pushing back and opting to kind of focus on what is in place already. So enforcement of current laws and maybe the building of better bike infrastructure. But the big focus here is that this could hurt companies and individuals who are doing food delivery work. Basically, there's potential for added fees and time and cost that we don't really have details on yet, but it's something that could cause problems for those people and reduce their income, and that's
Yeah, definitely. It kind of sounds like, to boil it down to the most simple terms, one side just saying we want more safety, the other side saying hey, let's do better enforcement of rules without necessarily tacking on all those extra fees and expenses like you're talking about. It's definitely been a hotly contested debate from what we've seen leading up to it. They're going to be voting on it here pretty soon, so we'll see the results. But I mean, overall, we're always advocates for safety, and we're always advocates for e-bikers to just kind of be responsible out on the roads. It kind of all starts there. And we can understand the demand for more safety, whether or not, licensing, registration fees, does that achieve it? Maybe, maybe not. It's kind of hard to say at this juncture, but
I feel like education is a important factor with things like this. Just get people aware of how to behave and trail etiquette, road etiquette, street etiquette, that sort of thing. Definitely don't like seeing things encouraged that kind of feels like a vendetta. This kind of has that vibe to me, like somebody kind of out to maybe had a bad experience and taking it out on the general public.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think Rodriguez said there was a very small percentage of people who've actually had accidents. It accounts for less than 3% of all accidents reported by bikes as compared to vehicles.
Cars and trucks. Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely.
So kind of interesting. We'll see how that one plays out, and then hopefully report back on that one next week. But
Absolutely.
cool. Let's stay in the Big Apple though, because on the plus side of New York City, the Department of Transportation is calling its charging station pilot program a big success. So
Always good to hear.
yeah, exactly. So the department stated that a 6-month trial program that ran from March through September with battery swapping cabinets and charging docks available at 5 locations. Now they worked with 118 test users who primarily work in food delivery. and they were riding, Aero Model 9 and Model 10 bikes, but they gave them unlimited access to charging stations, and there were no fire incidents. It reduced at-home charging by 35%. So overall, it sounds like it was pretty successful, helping people, get access to batteries a little bit quicker and easier. New York's been trying to tamp down any at-home fire injury concerns, and looks like this has achieved that. And not only that, it says in the program that since it was a success, they're going to look to expand from 5 to 173 charging hubs near 53 housing complexes using $25 million in federal grant funding. I mean, overall, that sounds like a win to me.
I agree. I love hearing about that, especially coming off of our last story there. I mean, doing things like this, implementing these charging stations and hubs to support food delivery workers, I think that's absolutely huge, as they were considered essential workers during the pandemic. They're the beating
100%.
Heart of New York City.
Exactly.
So that is fantastic.
Cool.
Next up, we have kind of an exciting story here. We've seen some brands pull out of the US market over the past couple months, weeks, everything. This story is about a brand coming in 2025. And that is Segway. You know them for the two-wheeled scooters sort of things. So now they are launching an e-bike division, and they're going an interesting route here. So instead of going direct to consumer or selling in big box stores like Best Buy, they're actually going with independent dealers, brick and mortar locations. So the head of the e-bike division, his name is Nick Howe. He says, "These e-bikes are awesome machines, but they're also very sophisticated and technical. We want to ensure the customer has the best experience possible, and that means professional assembly and service. It also gives us a great opportunity to support the dealers who are the backbone of the bicycle industry." And it sounds like he's assembled a really great team of people. So they've got experience at Trek, Cannondale, Giant, and a few other bike brands as well. The senior brand manager, whose name is Heather Henderson, even owned her own bike shop at one point in time. So.
Awesome. So it sounds like they've got a crack team kind of behind the project. They have the two models called the Safari and the Cyber, looks like, a commuter and an e-moped. Yep. Crack team behind them. People always like brand names that they know and have heard of before.
100%.
For Segway to be moving on to e-bikes, I think that's a huge stretch or leap for them.
Agreed.
Combined with that team, and I think, maybe set up for success. Interested to see what those models look like when we learn more details in 2025.
Yeah, they were announced earlier this year. Not a whole lot out there at the moment. They do look cool, but hopefully we get them in for testing in the future.
Yeah, awesome.
That'd be cool.
And then last but certainly not least, Grounded RV announces the Ground T1, a micro RV towed by an electric trike made in partnership with Civilized Cycles. John, check this thing out. This thing is awesome.
I love this thing. I think it's super cool.
So built from Civilized Cycles, it's the semi-trike. It's a low recumbent trike paired with a single axle trailer. It is legally a bicycle. So it's 120 inches long, 114 inches high, no info on width, but it does say that it fits in bike lanes. Now the trike has a 750 watt motor. That sounds standard, but it has a boost function with 529 newton meters of torque.
That is
not so standard.
Yes.
It's like it's a whole lot of torque, but probably what you need to move that thing.
Definitely.
And it's paired with a 15 kilowatt hour battery with solar charging on the roof, capable of up to 150 miles of range. It sounds awesome. It looks awesome too. I mean, just look at some of these photos. Kitchenette at the rear with an L-shaped seating and dining area in the front. It converts to a two-person bed at night. Can add an exterior shower and dry flush toilet. I mean, really, this is just a pretty cool looking concept.
It is. I mean, I think that, it's a fairly cramped space, so, it's going to be fairly niche and, a trike.
Definitely.
Somebody's going to have to chill inside while the other person pedals, that sort of thing.
You're going to have to rotate and take turns on that. And of course, it does start at $13,000. So again, like I said, niche,
Yeah.
not going to be for everybody, but
For sure.
just cool to see people innovating and come up with new and different stuff.
100%. And I also wanted to kind of just point out the semi-trike that is in development by Civilized Cycles as well. That's kind of a cargo trike setup as is, so they're just taking that box and kind of converting it.
Yep.
So I mean, that looks very practical for delivery workers as well. All kinds of interesting uses for electric vehicles out there.
Yeah, heck yeah. So, well, that's going to do it for this week's news recap.
So in this section, we'll take a look at some of the things we have currently in testing and reviews that have gone live. To start things off, the Machwheel Basalt ST 2.0. So it seems kind of like a lightly refreshed version of the Basalt.
Yeah, it doesn't look like they overhauled it by any means, just light updates, but...
Yeah, it seems to have turn signals and then a new display. So, we'll be running that through our battery of testing. But let's see, what did we have go live?
Meanwhile, we had a few things go live. So starting things off, we actually had one of yours, John, the Machwheel Granite Electric Trike.
That's right.
What can you tell us about that one?
So that is, a different kind of approach to electric vehicles from Machwheel. They've stuck with generally big, beefy, heavy, powerful, fat tire bikes.
First time going three wheels for them, yeah.
Yeah, so that was exciting to see. This one, has that mid-mounted hub motor with the differential axle that Lectric kind of pioneered. So
Yeah, we're always fans of that design.
absolutely, it very effective on that trike as well.
Yep. And then the other video that we had go live, so it was actually a comparison video between the Lectric Summit 1 and the Turbo Taro X, which is, that one was me. So that was actually a really fun comparison to do because it was two hybrid style e-bikes, you know, things if you want to both work and play type thing. What was really nice about that one is like one's kind of entry level where one is definitely more higher end. So it's kind of just, you know, comparing and contrasting, and surprisingly the performance gap is not as wide as you would think. There's definitely some refinement. I think the Specialized Taro X is a little bit better for true single track mountain biking.
That makes sense.
You know, you're gonna have that more precise feel. You can go across single tracks, switch back heavy trails, you know, things like that. It's got full suspension. Whereas the, you know, Summit 1, just really good like entry level type thing. If you know, want to like romp around campsites, you know, Bureau land management areas, stuff like that, it's gonna be great for that. So really
some smoother, flowier trails.
Yeah, some like wider open ones, probably not like, you know, tight single track, I would say, but I mean overall, like I said, fun comparison. Make sure to go check that one out if you haven't already.
That sounds great. In this section, we take a look at cool locations across the country that have prioritized bike infrastructure or just places that have really cool bike trail systems. So today we're heading to Colorado, is that right, Griffin?
That's correct. So it's a really cycling-friendly state overall, but today we're going to be taking a look at Fort Collins, Colorado. I loved this the more I looked into it. So
cool.
First of all, there are over 200 miles of dedicated bike lanes and 50 miles of marked or signed bike routes, and that does include some fully dedicated and protected bike lanes as well.
Fantastic.
And that's all e-bike friendly since 2021. They did a little bit of surveying first to make sure that they were okay with the infrastructure, but that's now e-bike friendly. So a couple of things about the area. I mean, there's 300 days of sunshine, so really bright sunny place, perfect for getting out and about. But part of like their infrastructure that they have there, again, it's just a very cycling friendly approach, I would say overall, because they've got things like a bike buddy program for learning the ins and outs of the bike paths. So you can basically
The bike butt.
the bike. Misspeaking is so fun. But you can, you know, team up with a buddy. Someone will basically come and kind of like show you like the lay of the land and stuff like that. Kind of like a, you know, find a friend system. But there's also things for even like groups. Like they have an ambassadorship program. So if you are like a business, a scout troop, HOA, something like that, you can like borrow bikes and learn on them. You can get the ins and outs of like bicycling safety and stuff. They even have things like a bingo map with like 5 different themes of like ways to go about town and like things to look for. So again, it's just really encouraging people to get out to explore. And I just really love to see that.
I agree with that. It sounds, you know, that like that fits right in with Colorado's ethos as a whole. Just get out, enjoy life, live. You know.
Just taking all that the outdoors has to offer. And of course, like if you haven't been to Colorado already, I mean, just look at some of the photos. Like we've got some here. I mean, overall, it's just a beautiful state. There's lots of nature to take a look at. And again, to have those dedicated bike paths, be able to kind of like more easily navigate about town. That's often the dream. It's kind of the whole purpose of the segment that we're trying to see more of, right? Yes. Which is just celebrate the places that do provide this, because it's just such a great way to explore a city.
Yeah, other places, take note. Fort Collins is doing it right. All right, and now for one of our favorite segments of the show. This is where we interact with you guys, the audience. We take your questions and comments and go into a little bit more deeper discussion with our answers here. So to start things off with a question from John Lackner, 1193, and this was on the Electric Bike Company Model R review. Does the optional high power charger really charge the bike faster?
Yes, it does. So on that particular bike, Electric Bike Company does sell different charger options. So in general, you just want to look at the amperage. It's going to be your biggest indicator. But if you do go with the upgraded one, there is a little bit more capacity to help charge up your bike. So yes, you can stick with the standard one if you want, or upgrade if you want. You know, the reassurance of if you know you want to make sure you have enough juice to go back out on your lunch break, you need to charge fast, you can always look at getting a higher capacity charger. We actually love getting those when they're available.
Yes, 100%. It helps out with the range tests. To add a little bit more color to that, like the amperage of the charger is kind of related to the speed at which it charges. So if you have like a 10 amp hour battery, a standard charger is going to be 2 amps. So you divide your amp hours by the amps of the charger, then that means that battery, 10 amp hour battery, would charge in 5 hours using a standard charger. Electric Bike Company also has the 3.5 amp chargers and then the big boy 5 amp chargers. So that same 10 amp hour battery would charge in a little under 3 hours with the 3.5 amp
exactly.
charger, and then just 2 hours with the big 5 amp charger.
So if you squint and look at the finer details, sometimes you can find charger specifics on brand's website. They're not always like transparent about those, and sometimes you have to dig a little bit, but that information is there if you are concerned about how quickly you can charge a bike. So
I'd say that 3 amp chargers seem to be kind of like the most common.
I think we're moving from 2 kind of into 3 a little bit more
Fingers
commonly,
crossed.
and then we're seeing a few more coming as just 4 standard. But there are some out there going all the way up to 5, so pretty awesome.
Pretty impressive, yeah.
Okay, so next up, we have from Nevermind932 from last week's show. In the future, are you folks going to review different bike seats? Aloha from Makaha. Once again, I'm struggling on Hawaiian name. Hawaii.
Aloha to you as well. Thank you for the question. Short answer is, yeah, we hope to get into more of that sort of thing. But if you are shopping for a saddle, first things first, like kind of consider the type of bike that you have. Generally with like a cruiser style bike, you get those big, thick, plush saddles that are very wide. Makes you feel like you're on a sofa.
Some really thick cushioning to those bad boys, yeah.
Yeah, that's what you want if you're taking it easy. But on the flip side of that, if you're something like a road bike or a mountain bike, you're probably looking at something a little bit slimmer, a little bit more performance oriented, so that you can move a little bit more freely.
Mm-hmm. They're narrow. They try to get out of the way, just let you focus on the ride.
100%. And then if you're shopping, then you want to consider a few things: the shell, so the sort of base cutout. You want to consider padding, whether that's foam, a gel, or something different. And then you also want to consider the cover material, whether that be synthetic or leather or like a 3D type of print. There's a few other things as well, but those are kind of the big ones.
Yeah, we haven't done a ton with saddles up to this point. We have reviewed like some of Electric Bike Company saddles because they are massive and thick and cushy. It's a lazy boy on a seat post, basically.
100%. Yes.
But there are some really cool stuff out there, so we might explore some more. We actually had an article earlier this year with a really unique design for. The best description I can give you is it looks like an elliptical for your butt.
It really does.
It's
Yes.
just kind of crazy. So there's definitely some cool stuff out there. Hopefully we can explore some more. So
I'd like to test that one. It seems interesting. Next up, we have a question from the Aventon Rambless versus Trek Marlin review, and that is from Method Override. Who says, I believe the pink elephant in the room that's in all these comparison videos is building your own bike. For instance, take a new Marlin or Roscoe and add a mid-drive motor. A Roscoe 6 and 750 watt Bafung kit should cost around $1,500. If you have your local LBS do the work, I assume you can get everything done for less than $3K. What do you think about that?
There's a lot in there, so let's kind of unpack it like bit by bit, because it's true that there are electric conversion kits, obviously. So we've discussed those in the past. If you got a bike you like, you want to keep it around, you can electrify it that way. Yeah. But more specifically, especially in this case where those were 2 hardtail EMTBs, there are a lot to consider when it comes to making a mountain bike an electric mountain bike. So in there, you'd also mention you could just take it to your local bike shop and have them do it for you. I'm not entirely sure about that, just universally speaking. Sure. A lot of local bike shops actually try to stay away from electric bikes that they don't sell or something like that, or that they haven't already contracted to help bike service. So would they work on an e-bike conversion kit? You're definitely going to want to call in advance before just assuming that's a yes. I think most would probably shy away from it, in all honesty.
That makes sense to me, yeah.
And then you have to consider a few other things when you are taking a mountain bike specifically and converting that over, because with those kits, you'll often get obviously the battery is not going to integrate into the frame like it does on a lot of dedicated EMTBs. So if it's going on the down tube or the top tube, that is going to change the weight displacement of your bike, kind of change and alter the center of gravity. Or some of them I've actually seen those kits where they still have the rack mounted ones. So that then puts weight over your rear tire. That changes things up. Not only that, but also a lot of those EMTBs will actually kind of build and construct the frame around the mid-drive motor.
That makes sense, yep.
So if you're getting one that attaches on, it can take place in the bottom bracket, but usually it's going to lower that bottom bracket. You'll have less clearance going over obstacles. So again, there's just a lot to consider. And not only that, but part of that assumption in there was, he said you could probably find the bike and the kit and a bike shop to do it for under $3,000. The thing is, though, if you're talking just under $3,000, you're actually approaching hardtail EMTB prices anyway. 100%, yeah. Even one of the bikes in that video, the Rambless goes for like $2,700 or something like that. So
and
at
it's
that
an
point,
all-in-one package.
And it's an all-in-one. It's good to go. You get the warranties and things like that. So it might just be better off, in like my opinion, to look at getting an actual hardtail EMTB before considering buying parts, converting it, getting someone to convert it for you. But again, to each their own.
My takeaway also is that if you're trying to take a bike that you have and love and then convert it to an e-bike, by doing that, it's not going to feel like your bike anymore. Mm-hmm. Or there's at least the potential for that.
It's going to change it up, and more often than not in that case, it's like a beloved bike from way back in the day. Geometry standards have changed, so you got to take into considerations, what else changes on it. Also, adding electrical components like that to a bike that was not built with e-bikes in mind. We have a lot of EMTB specific components and a lot of, the way they construct chains and derailleurs and brakes and like a little bit of like details
synergy.
Built to kind of withstand the forces of an e-bike because it's a little bit more intense in general.
Yeah.
So I'm not anti-conversion kit by any means. I'm just saying it might actually be better just to go with something purpose built. It's just kind of my take. So
That makes sense to me.
but overall, it's a great question. A lot of things to consider in there. All
And
right.
that may be right for somebody out there, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so next question we have, this is from the Lectric 1 review. Is the throttle function binary, meaning either 100% power or 0% power? Or is it analog, press it down a little bit, get a little bit of power, a little bit of modularity to it?
So yeah, this is a pretty straightforward answer. It is a binary system, so no matter how far you press the throttle lever, it's just 100% power.
On that bike, the electric one.
The electric one,
Yes.
yeah, correct. So that does vary from bike to bike. More often than not, we do see that sort of modular or system where if you ease into it, that kind of ramps up the power. But then also specifically about the electric one and something that, I'd like to personally see on more bikes is just kind of the ability to better control the speed or at least the power of the throttle depending on the pedal assist system. So with the electric one being that PWR programming from Lectric, which is the current base system, you do, at least in PIS 1 and 2, you get the speed limits of those pedal assist settings, but then above that, it's a power limit. So, if you're going uphill, if you're in PIS 5, that'll take you a little bit less time to get up a hill than PIS 3.
Yeah, okay, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
So.
And then the last question that we have here is on the RadKick review, and this is from Jerome Hebert, 3184. I like the belt drive feature, but concerned being a 250-pound rider if the motor is enough and the battery having enough power to power the motor with a heavier rider.
Well, that was my review, and as someone who's not too far from your weight, I'm 235 pounds, so I'll weigh in here, pun slightly intended, 235
Waka
pounds.
waka.
I'll weigh in, thank you. So yes, in general, it's going to be something you have to work a little bit harder for on those climbs because it's a 500 watt motor, it's not the largest capacity we've seen, not the torquiest either, and then of course single speed belt drive, you don't have gearing options to kind of adjust how you approach the hill.
Sure.
That's neither a good thing nor a bad thing in my opinion. It's what's your area like, what's your goals, what's your purposes like? A lot of people actually like to get e-bikes and they want to just exercise more, get a little, work themselves into better shape in some ways. There's actually a bike I like for that purpose, in some ways, because it's going to help, as you saw in the hill testing, we were able to get to the top of hills like Hellhole. And, even though I'm larger than Justin, who did the dedicated testing, I can get to the top of hills. Got to work a little bit for it, but I don't think it's a bad thing either.
Did you ever have to get off the saddle?
I think on a couple of things just to make it easier. I could have stayed seated if I wanted to,
Sure.
but yeah, sometimes just like a regular old bike, just get out of the saddle, push a little bit, and then overall you'll be fine. So
That does not seem unreasonable for a single speed.
yeah, definitely not.
And-
So
I was going to say there's always the option to get the 7-speed as well. So
I was gonna say you can look at the options on that bike. So kind of make it what it needs to be based on how hilly your area is or how it's going to be where you're riding. So. But overall, those were really great questions. Thank you so much. Make sure to keep sending them in either on our YouTube, questions or on the website, or even email us, and we'll try and get into some more of those next week.
yeah, questions at electricbikereport.com.
Yeah.
It's time for Deals of the Week. Deals of the Week. Oh, you didn't sing again, Griffin. You're leaving me in lurch.
When you lead it, I just feel like I should stay silent. I forget.
That's all right.
I snapped, though.
I appreciate your
We were
snapping.
very in harmony on the snapping, and I appreciate that at least.
Right on. What do we have for deals this week,
Great
Griffin?
question. So there are a few different brands that still have some lingering holiday sales, and it is not too late to pick up a ride if you forgot to get one or your bike died between now and Black Friday. Good news, there's still some savings to be had.
That's good.
So let's start things off with one of my favorite quirky little bikes, the Jackrabbit OG. Now this is not technically a bike, there's no pedals, and the thing is yay large, but it's surprisingly fun. You'll feel a little bit like, the bear at the circus riding the little trike.
I can
tricycle
attest
or
to
whatever.
that, yeah.
But I mean, it's just so much fun. It packs a surprising punch. You can kind of zip around, and right now it's $200 off down to $799. So I actually kind of like the pricing on that a little bit more.
100%,
Makes
yeah.
it a lot more feasible and practical for people to jump into it. So if you want something a little bit quirky, fun, or different, definitely take a look at that sale. I think that's a pretty good price for that bike.
Yeah, and next up, we're looking at Bike Tricks from up in Canada. So they have sales with
Canada.
bikes.
Sorry.
Maple syrup and
Mounties.
Yep,
Dings.
those things. We're American, sorry. Bike Tricks, so they're offering sales up to 47% off their bikes. So we reviewed the Juggernaut Classic Duo ST a few months ago. So that bike is 30% off currently.
Yeah, 33% off. That's my bad. I put a typo on the document.
That's
Sorry.
okay.
33% off on that one.
So yeah, I mean, that's a big fat tire bike with a beefy 750 watt mid-drive motor, a cadence sensor. I mean, that thing can tear it up for sure if you're looking to do some off-road rides. Definitely recommend checking that out. And then to wrap things up, what do we have? Ride One Up.
So Ride One Up's got some lingering holiday sales, but this is actually a new one in addition to some of the stuff that we covered at Black Friday. The Ride One Up 700, one of their most popular e-bikes, is their commuter that is speedy fast. They are right now throwing in a free spare battery with that, so that is a $300 incentive to go ahead and get that one.
That's nice.
That was for several years one of our top recommended commuters. It comes with everything you need. You got the rack in place, you've got the lights, the fenders, all that. But throwing in a spare battery, I mean, always really nice to have.
Can't argue that.
So definitely take a look at that one from a great brand and just a really great bike.
As a reminder, you know, all these deals are not going to last. The year's ending very soon here, so take advantage of these things while you can.
Each and every week, we like to highlight an audience member, either from someone who's commented on YouTube or sent us an email or left us like word back on our website. And this week is actually pretty exciting because we're able to follow up with someone that we mentioned in one of our very first podcast show episodes. And that is Derek Hart. Will you take us a little bit through Derek?
Yeah, 100%. So this actually, speaking of Jackrabbit earlier, this ties into that. Derek sent us an email with some photos of his Jackrabbit that he sort of modded out a little bit. He says, as promised in the weekly recharge YouTube chat, pics of my Jackrabbit OG with custom fenders and rack, 2.5 kilometer commute to and from work, and he lives in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. So, I mean, that's exactly what this bike is for, little short commutes.
Like 2.5 kilometers, just a little like distance running back and forth. But I mean, this thing looks sweet. I like that he went to, found like the custom like stuff for his ride. Like, this is awesome. So thank you so much, Derek, for following up with us and sending that to us.
We appreciate it. And if you want to be sponsored and highlighted in this section, reach out to us, let us know on social media or at questions@electricbikereport.com. That's our email address. What do you ride? How did we help you in your search? We'd love to talk about you.
As always, thank you so much for watching. We really love doing this show each and every week. And don't forget to, comment, reach out with questions, stuff that you got going on, where you're riding, all that good stuff, and make sure you like and subscribe. And then don't forget, we'll leave links down in the description below to some of the things that we talked about today. So make sure to check out those links if you need more details.
We'll catch you next time on The Weekly Recharge.